I have mixed feelings about Unbeatable. On the one hand, I think this game has a wonderful story and a lot of messages it wants to share, many of which genuinely resonated with me and made me feel something. On the other hand, this game has a lot of jank, and I do want to acknowledge that this is an indie game developed by a group of fairly new developers who are still building and refining their skills, and that does count for something. But indie developer or not, this is a game that still costs a decent amount of money to play, $28 currently at launch. So the real question is it worth your time and money? Unbeatable is a rhythm game featuring 2D anime style characters placed inside a 3D world. And honestly, I think the art style and overall aesthetic is fantastic. I love the world, the color choices, and the visual identity the developers created. Each character feels unique and distinct, and the animations, whether it's running around the environment or performing during rhythm sections, are genuinely well done. But where Unbeatable really shines, and easily my favorite part, is the story. I don't know who storyboarded the cutscenes and dialogue shots, but I absolutely loved the cinematic and artistic direction during the more important emotional moments. They could have gone with a simple visual novel style presentation with static portraits and text boxes, but instead the developers went above and beyond and injected real creativity into these scenes. It gives the story weight. Most of the dialogue is also fully voiced, and voiced pretty well. There are a lot of emotionally charged moments that needed strong performances to land properly, and the voice actors absolutely deliver.
That's the attitude I mean. I've been dealing with this shit way longer than you. I've been in this longer than you. And instead of any kind of respect for that, you come in here acting like you're the protagonist of the universe.
These performances elevate scenes that otherwise wouldn't have hit nearly as hard. Yes, there is a lot of dialogue, and I know that will turn some people off, but I genuinely think these conversations are important. They give you the context you need to understand the characters, their motivations, and their emotions, which makes the eventual payoffs actually work.
I heard it all again last night. The shimmer in your eyes, the pictures intertwined and mirrored into mine. But why does it hurt so much this time? I never thought it'd be this soon. I lie awake inside my room, close my eyes and ask why do. Oh, why do I care so much this time?
The main story itself is fairly short, clocking in at around 8 hours, but somehow the writers managed to pack an impressive amount into that time frame. At its core, the story is simple. Music is illegal and you, the main character, commit crimes. Those crimes just happen to involve playing music and fighting the police who are trying to stop you. Music is outlawed because humming, snapping, or even playing a tune summons creatures called silents, which are supposedly a danger to the world. To prevent more silence from appearing, an organization called Harm is established, a fascist-level authority that enforces its laws over the populace using the threat of silence as justification. Now, we start the game as Beat, who wakes up under a tree in a beautiful open field. We meet Quaver, who decides to help us for reasons that aren't entirely clear at first. Through this strange encounter, along with following the whims of a child, we end up on a high-speed highway chase, fighting silence and police at the same time. That moment sets the tone for the game and kicks off this rebellious journey centered around self-discovery, expression, and dreams. This world is filled with mystery. You constantly want to understand how things got this way and why. And the supporting cast is equally compelling, with each character having their own reasons for doing what they do, whether you agree with them or not. It's a genuinely strong story with the right balance of mystery and intrigue, and it kept me invested the entire time. I wanted to learn more about Beat, Quaver, and everyone else in this world. Now, Unbeatable is a rhythm game, and in that regard is actually very competent. The core rhythm gameplay only uses 2 buttons, but even with that limitation, there's a surprising amount of variety. You're pressing, holding, hitting sequences, switching between top and bottom prompts. It keeps things engaging. There's also this chaotic but optional UI that jumps, hops, and moves around as you try to follow the beat and fight the silence. It's intense, a little overwhelming, but undeniably fun. I'll be honest, I'm not amazing at rhythm games, and I'm not even particularly obsessed with the genre, but I still enjoy these sections a lot. Unfortunately, the rhythm gameplay doesn't stop there. And even more unfortunate, the other rhythm-based modes are where the game really starts to fall apart. These additional modes feel severely underdeveloped, to the point where if they were removed entirely, I honestly wouldn't miss them, or even notice they were gone. First, there's the rail sliding rhythm section, where we time jumps and switch tracks to avoid being shot. I really didn't like the UI here. The pink on pink diamond indicators were really hard to read, visually messy, and felt unpolished. I often couldn't tell what the game was asking me to do in those moments. Then there's the baseball hitting minigame, where you hit incoming balls that sometimes change speed when the machine shouts at you. It's not terrible, but the first time you're thrown into this minigame, it goes on way too long. This is one of those moments where the developers really needed to playtest the pacing, because what starts off as a novel experience quickly becomes tedious. I got genuinely bored just standing there hitting baseballs. It really overstayed its welcome by a lot. And I can't forget the highway chase sequence in episode 1. That section was honestly kind of dreadful and very confusing. I often couldn't tell whether my counters were successful or not, and I didn't understand what I was supposed to do with the drones, so the whole experience was kind of frustrating instead of exciting. The UI desperately needs clearer feedback here. Beyond the rhythm mechanics, there are other minigames sprinkled throughout the game, and I think most of them should have been cut entirely. The bartending minigame is a good example. It's extremely lackluster, and maybe I'm just dumb, but I genuinely couldn't figure out what kind of drink the customer wanted when they asked for something trendy or fruity. None of these side minigames came anywhere close to being as enjoyable as the main rhythm gameplay. It really just felt like they were added in just to be added in with no other afterthought. The developers also advertised Unbeatable as having optional exploration, where you can slow down, talk to people, and experience the world before progressing the main story. And on paper, that sounds great. The world they created is interesting, and there are moments where the environments are crafted with a lot of care. Some locations look incredible, visually striking backdrops that genuinely makes you feel something when you stop and take them in. But actually exploring these spaces is often a miserable experience. Movement feels janky and clunky, especially on keyboard. You can't really run diagonally, which leads to beat moving at awkward angles when you're just trying to get somewhere. Then there are random invisible walls that constantly break immersion and make exploration more annoying than rewarding. In episode 4, when you run through the plaza, the camera abruptly cuts between zones at strange angles, making an already awkward area even more uncomfortable to navigate. Overall, there are just too many underdeveloped and poorly planned sections that desperately needed more polish. The ideas are there, but the execution simply isn't. Finally, there's an optional arcade game mode that is reminiscent of DDR, and I think it's a fantastic game mode if you love how Unbeatable the rhythm game is played. So you could really spend a lot of time in this game mode alone. So is Unbeatable worth your time and money? The game has some genuinely fantastic elements that make me want to recommend it. The fantastic music, an absolutely compelling story, and a seriously charming art style. There's a lot to like here, but then you remember the price tag of $30 and you have to step back and look at the full package. When you factor in the janky game design and underdeveloped minigames, the clunky movement, and the overall cluttered designs, it becomes much harder to justify. I cannot honestly tell someone that they should spend $30 on a product that feels half-baked and unfinished. If D-Cell had cut the minigames, trimmed the exploration, removed most of the side content, and focused entirely on the main rhythm gameplay and story, and then released it for $15, I would have wholeheartedly recommended this game to everyone. But as it stands now, Unbeatable is not worth your time. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. My name's been Suka. I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.